Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leja, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today I have a great guest, a law enforcement peace officer that's going to say a little message for everybody here in Laredo, because he has a message that he wants to spread. His name's Ponce Trevino. How are we doing, Ponce?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for the invite.
No, thanks for coming out here, and it's open to anybody that wants to come out.
That's great.
And it's anybody can come out here and discuss what they want. I mean, that's the way that's the way we better ourselves and better what's needed out there.
Kind of like an interview for the job.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, because you're running. So explain
Yes,
that. Explain what you're running for and what you're doing.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and throw my hat in for Precinct 4 Constable.
Okay.
It's the constable in the north side. I'm coming, with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of experience. I've just finished a tour as a chief of police outside of Corpus in a little town called Taft. And I'm bringing that experience over here, and I can't get that law enforcement bug out of me, and I just want to do whatever I can to better the community and, bring in some new programs and bring in some new things to the north side. I've seen the north side's growing a lot, and I think it's time for some new ideas, a new change, a new pace. Is
the current constable going to be running, or is he still running for the same position?
There's speculation out there that he may or he may not. We're not sure yet. They got till December 11th to sign up. I have signed up already, and I have another candidate signed up, which is awesome because I've always been big on having the people get a choice. You just don't want one person there. You want to have a couple of people on the ballot, so the people that are voting have a choice, and they can decide who they feel is a better candidate for that, or the better elected official.
Absolutely. Let's just take things that you said, because number one, the north side is growing. I think Laredo's kind of growing now. It's done that growth. Mm-hmm. We have a lot more people here in comparison to at one time Laredo was the second fastest growing city back in early 2000s, and all of a sudden it just went stagnant. But there seems to be a lot of growth. There seems to be a lot more subdivisions being opened up, a lot more schools growing up. So that gives us a populace that's growing. It's moving forward. Yes. What do you see that you can say, this is what needs, or what I think we need to do, what we need to work on, especially as constable?
Well, as a constable, we're in charge of, basically the JP, the Justice of the Peace, civil process and criminal process as far as, documentation. That's the main focus. But the constables, as well as the sheriffs and police officers, are also certified peace officers with the state of Texas. I want to grow on that. I want to see if I can bring in new programs where we can actually have little operations to help out the community better in our area. I want to see more traffic control, more traffic patrol. Right now I'm teaching driver's ed for students over here on towards the Alexander United area. And there's a lot of unlicensed drivers, there's a lot of people with no insurance, and they're having accidents, and the people that are being honest and paying their insurance are taking the brunt of that. We want to start taking those vehicles off the road, or those drivers off the road. So I'm going to be big on traffic control. Yeah,
that's, but one thing that happened, and I read an article on the surge of no insurance, was the fact that, back in 2020, we had that pandemic. And a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people have lost this. Insurance companies went up higher than they were before. And a lot of people basically cannot. I wish if there was some type of benefit from the state, if you have people that have low income, people that cannot make it. I know people are going to say, oh, it's not going to be fair for us because we're paying insurance. But I think that should also be covered because that's a necessity to be taken for a job. Kind of like you lose your job, you know what, for the next 6 months or a year, we'll cover your insurance, but after that you have to get a job.
So you're speaking more
Like
along the term, like the way health insurance is. If,
Right.
if you don't have a health insurance, then you get the Obamacare or you get something.
Right, you should be, and we have that money to help out. And we have to help out those that are trying to do something, because if they're driving, they're going somewhere, they're probably going to work. You know, they're bringing in commerce back and forth. So we have to help them in a format. But then you get a person that doesn't have it 2-3 times, or DWI, or caught with reckless driving or stuff like that. Then we can start working on the other issues.
Yes, and that's why we have what we call, we have the warning that comes out first, and it'll be the officer's discretion. The officer's, if he sees that they're honest, hardworking people, and he says, hey, you know what, this warrants a warning for this time. Go get an insurance, or go find a way to get an insurance, and we go from that.
And I'm not saying that you have to give everybody, how can I say, those benefits, because there's a lot of people that are abusing those benefits that are out there now. But there's a lot of people that lost, period, their businesses left and right out of the craziness that went on. And there's a lot of businesses that had 2-3 employees that, you can't, either can work or not can work. And it's sad, because that residual abuse of what occurred in 2020, you start seeing it with no insurances. You start seeing it with the crime rates going up a little bit more. You start seeing it with that because it actually hurt the community in a lot more ways than what we think it did. And
we're all still recovering from it and gradually coming out of it. And we'll grow out of it, and that's the thing. We got to move forward, and that's where we see the growth. I mean, it's got stagnant for a while. You're seeing a bunch of new forwarding agencies, warehouses going up to the I-35. You're seeing a lot more traffic going through there, and it's our job as constables, not only for our constituents here, but also the people that are visiting the North Side, to make sure we try to maintain and try to, help them as much as possible and protect and serve, as they say.
Absolutely. One thing that, there's a lot of schools around. One thing that's become kind of my pet peeve is stuff that I've witnessed and seen, and stuff that happens inside the schools. I remember when I was in United, you had the sheriff's department. You just have deputies there taking care of the kids. Now we have school districts that have departments there. It's kind of like defeating the purpose, kind of like you have double duties. Maybe the constables can take up with that, or maybe the sheriffs can take up with this, or something like that. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I echo that. I mean, that's something I've seen as well. We do have officers that do traffic control outside the schools. Now, just from a personal aspect, I go pick up my daughter and pick up my son, and I'm out there outside the school watching them direct traffic. But once they're done with directing traffic, they go about their business. It was me I started noticing the students that are walking home. Who's keeping an eye on them? Who's watching for them? So I want to implement something to where once you're done with traffic control, we patrol the area, and I want to recognize and show, okay, these are where the sexual offenders that are supposed to be registered are, and are they close to a park? We got to make sure they're in compliance. So I want to do routine traffic control around their areas, not only during school time, but also in the summer, because it doesn't stop there. And we just want to make sure the kids get home safe, the students, make it home, and that they see the presence of constables out there, following them around, and we can interact with them as well. Are you okay? Or, is everything okay?
Absolutely.
And control the traffic along the routes.
And that's what used to happen before. I remember, I don't know if you remember old Constable Reyes, who passed away.
Oh,
yeah, Reyes.
Good man.
He was one of the guys that used to take care of us in United, and
yes.
We became very good friends because we saw us there every day, and we grew up with that type of, and we need that type of camaraderie between peace officers and the community for them to be respect, not to have a disrespect.
Exactly.
And you know, because that sometimes when you're very too harsh, you actually start building a separation, a wall that separates what the peace officer is supposed to be to kind of like a person that's trying to get me. Remember, what's the first word of peace officer? Peace. You know, to keep the peace.
Yes.
And that comes in many ways. And it's not to agitate or aggravate; it's to maintain the peace. You know.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm big on that. I know when I was the chief of police there in the Taft area, I would speak with my officers. I'd say, hey, don't be afraid to get off the vehicle and interact. Don't be afraid to wave hi. You know, we got to do what's called community policing, and we got to interact. And a lot of times you get information from people that way. You know, they finally start trusting you. They open up to you, and they let you know what's going on or what they fear. And that's the way it should be. And we've got to educate them from a young age at the schools to trust the police. We've gotten a black eye in these last few years with certain things that have been happening, not here in Laredo, but up north. And I think we got some cleaning up to do. And we've got to build ourselves back and get the respect that we used to have. Absolutely.
And, you know, there's like we were talking about, there's that school to prison pipeline issue that's been going on. And I've been seeing it, which comes from the many faces. But we'll be having a meeting this Tuesday with people that oversee, and they're people that, it's called the Appleseed Foundation. They oversee stuff like this on schools that go into that route, basically the no tolerance. Mm-hmm. And for any infraction now you're going arrested, being sent to juvenile. There's a lot of issues with that because sometimes kid gets bullied, turns around and defends himself. That's already an assault. Mm-hmm. Now both of them are sent to juvenile. And you cannot meet your accuser, you can't do anything, you just sent to juvenile. Now it's
no due process.
There's no due process whatsoever. There's a lot of ghost courts going on, and that's very dangerous, basically. So we have to kind of, everybody as a community come together and say, you know what, we need to stand strong and protect our kids, 'cause that's number one. And a lot of people say, no, well, it's, the argument is, oh, they're misbehaving and the parents they're at home. Actually, they spend between 7 to 8 hours a day at the school, mm-hmm. interacting with people from the school. If you look down under the Department of Labor, more than likely a mother spends, depending on the age bracket, they spend somewhere between 2 hours with their kid. If it's a small one. If it's a teenager, they spend about an hour and 30 minutes. Fathers only spend 45 minutes if you look at it. And that's a small, so people say, no, you know, the rest of the time they're asleep. So who is the one that's influencing who first, you know? And I do believe in discipline. Of course, you can see that on the wall, and you can see the patina of it. And that discipline, you need to set straight examples. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does come from home. I get them here with the kids, you know, they come in there and the first thing they tell me, discipline them for me. He's not my child, I can't discipline him for him. But he's going to learn good habits that will get him in a form of discipline.
And that's what comes in with the martial arts and in combat sports. And I also participated in boxing in the U.S. Army and and amateur boxing. And a lot of people think it's about the physical part of it, but it's the discipline part of it.
Absolutely.
It's about staying in shape. It's about your weight. It's about being part of a team. And I'm big on that as well, and I support that. And as far as educating and all that, it starts at home. It starts at home, but you got to give them that outlet. You got to give them that form. It might not be for everyone. Boxing might not be for everybody. Martial arts might not be for everybody, but there is a niche. There, you got robotics. You got the chest tubs and stuff like that. We got to focus ourselves and put our children in the area that they belong in, so they can be part of a team.
Absolutely, and you see that because and I did a talk back in the early 2000s, and because when I was in Irving, I saw a lot of differences that we had here. Here we didn't have them yet. In Irving and in Dallas, you had gangs, which here now you have them, but back in 2000 you didn't. It was basically a barrio, neighborhoods. And over there in the club that I was at, it grew. A lot of the kids over there were Latin Kings and AV boys, and And then they started becoming friends because they were all part of the team. So then they created a truce. I didn't know this was going on. And the chief of police, I remember Hawkins back then in Dallas Police, they made 2 plaques of all the bandanas of all the gangs, and they all signed a truce.
And they tied them together.
Because they were all training out of my school, you know,
Wow.
so, and then there was an incident and everything went haywire because somebody else came in from out of town and we can't have this, and some violent incident occurred, but many of those kids shaped up from that. A lot of them went to the Army. A lot of them have businesses of their own now. You know, one of them ended up going and getting good grades because he did have good grades. A lot of those kids are smart, but what happens is this. You go to school, and I'm going to change the word team or band, and I'm going to put gang. You have the football gang, the baseball gang, the basketball gang, the cheerleading gang. Those are gangs. They're all teams. So you got a kid in there that's walking in there, and none of these people, they push them out because they're not playing, they're not part of us. Sometimes they get bullied, sometimes they get made fun of. So they're going to go with a gang that's really the gang. Understand what we,
The
you know,
outsiders.
the outsiders. And all of a sudden, now they're the bad kids. Anything that happens, they're looked at, labeled on. Well, maybe they're not into those things, but maybe they're into wrestling. You have schools that have wrestling. I don't know how come we don't have them.
That's big up north.
It's big up north. You know, how come we don't have a boxing team? I mean, LA, they have boxing clubs in some of the, they used to, I don't know about now. So, I don't know why. They were all part of AAU, you know, so maybe we have to do something like that and start funneling them where they're supposed to be.
Well, I mean, there is some good boxing clubs here. You know, you got
Oh, yeah.
the Dos Laredos, you got
Yeah.
some boxing clubs to the west. You got the sheriff's department sheriff's office has the one, the PALs. I haven't seen one. Well, Victor Montemayor has his up here in the north.
Yeah.
He reopened that one, but we want to expand on that. We want to open it up to some
have
of the
to.
youth that don't know about it. And I'm glad you're touching on the school aspect of it because as my platform as I'm running for constable, I am focused on the school. I am focused, you know, Uvalde just happened, you know, a few years back, and we're still reeling from it. I don't want that our guard to go down, as they say. You know, we got to keep our guard up. We got to stay proactive. We got to keep training, and I have it in my plan to reach out to the chief of police for the UISD, find out where the schools are at, and with their invitation, randomly get my officers and myself, not just to go and give a high five, but to actually walk the school, go talk to the kids. The kids won't know when we're coming. It'll be randomly, and that way we can double the force and maybe prevent something. You know.
You know, I looked at that because that was a horrible event in many factions, and you see it, and it was just horrible. And there's a lot of things that interject that. You know, you have 376 peace officers outside not doing anything for 90 minutes. You had moms running inside, pulling out kids left and right, and yet, you know, so it's kind of hard to swallow. But and that goes back to jurisdictional gaps. Oh, not you don't have it. Oh, I have it. No, and that pointing the finger. Under the Constitution, the sheriff is the highest law enforcement agency in the county.
In the county.
And I think for that, and I think this is not just right here, all throughout, the SWAT team should come out of that. They should have a hellacious SWAT team that's training, and they have 3 different teams 24/7, one overlapping the other. They might be from police, they might be everything else, but if you have a SWAT team from the sheriff, then you have a SWAT team from the school district, then you have a SWAT team from this constable, then from the police, you're going to have exactly what happened in Uvalde, happened here in Laredo. God forbid that happens, knock on wood, that doesn't happen.
Well, that's
But
why
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why we're learning from that and we're training for that. We're first responders. We're all peace officers. We all know what we signed up for. Once an incident like that of an active shooter happens, we need to know how to respond, and that's why all this training is coming into grips now, and we're learning from it. Who should respond first? Whoever gets there first.
Absolutely.
You know, we're there to serve and protect. Do we have to wait? That's a call on the officer. That's officer discretion. But that's what we put our life on the line for. As veterans, we know that. You know, me coming from the Army background, we know that it's going to hit the fan. Be ready for it. Let's go on.
I'd rather have somebody that's going to run towards a bullet than have somebody that's going to
Run away from it.
From
Yes.
away from it. And people say, well, you never did. Well, you know, I did that. You know, I was young and stupid, and I'd protect a lot of people, not only over here, and also in Europe and in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And you see things that are different than you see it here. How are you going to deal with that? So the elements are there. So you have to understand that issues of that nature are going to occur.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be very vigilant, more so than anywhere else, you know. And I keep telling parents, talk to your kids, be involved with your kids' life. Make sure you know what they're doing. If they're on the internet, make sure you know what, you know. I see this. If you and I go download TikTok, it's going to say what? 18 and over, adult entertainment.
Yes.
Then you have 12-year-olds on TikTok, 13-year-olds on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Facebook.
Instagram.
How come they're not getting nailed for allowing that 14, 13, that minor to be on there? And that's something that I think we all can come up with some kind of lawsuit towards those manufacturers of those applications to be able to be more vigilant of what they're doing.
Yeah, and,
You know what
and
I'm
it falls
saying?
on the parents also. I mean, I
Absolutely.
talk to my kids all the time, and you want to randomly check their phones, randomly
Sure.
check their, they accidentally get into stuff nowadays. Even roadblocks is big with the youth, but roadblocks has its vices as well, so that we got to be careful with, you know, and that's why, you know, I want to come and educate and reach out to the parents. I had a big saying back when I was chief of police: let's bring unity back into the community. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to bring unity. We need to talk to each other. We need to start respecting the teachers a lot more. And now it comes to the point where a lot of parents are quick to defend the students or defend their child. In some cases, it's warranted. But we also got to, you know, help out the teachers, get them ready. I mean, our teachers aren't first responders. They're first educators. So we got to make them feel safe inside the classroom. So
We
that's
have to
why I
make-
think we're going to influx it with randomly taking officers out there and patrolling and walking the school grounds as well, and you know, unite with our school district police officers.
You know, our teachers, we have to allow our teachers to go back and teach.
Yes. Yes.
Period. We can't say this or that or anything else. We have to allow them to teach. And I'd rather take away a $250,000 job from a superintendent and spread it along teachers, the educational people that are actually doing the work, and bring it all down. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's a lot of, you know, it's like everything else. You have the human formula is what ruins a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But we have a lot of great teachers out there. We have a lot of great peace officers that are out there, and we have to start protecting them. We have to get the ones that are bad. You know what? You can't do that anymore. That's it. That's the end of the story.
Yes.
We have to have a little bit more, because we're doing that to everybody else. But when it comes to teachers and comes to peace officers, we're not doing that. You catch somebody that's bad, you know what? Your license is no longer. Sorry.
Yes.
That should happen. Just like it happens to anybody else. You know, the worst part is this. You get a father that is late on child support. What are they going to take away from him? His license, his hunting license, can't drive. And all of a sudden he's going to spend time in jail.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it comes back, it's multiplied with interest, because they're not, and some of them they do, but some of them they don't. They're not going to, you know, time served, it's not going to be paid for that.
It becomes a revolving door.
And all of a sudden now the recidivism of that is going to get worse.
And I saw that a lot at the jail. Yeah, and that's something that needs to be addressed at the higher level. But yes, they would come in and they do 180 days. Now they lost their job. So then they come back out, they got to find a job. And now you've been in jail. Who's going to hire you? It is a catch-22.
And then, you know, and people say, and the first thing you hear about all of them, as I look at because I saw it, principals, teachers, counselors, school police in general, it's a deadbeat father's fault. Kids with a mom. It's a deadbeat dad. That's a reason. Wait a minute. You have a father that's trying to see the kid, trying to get involved with the kid's life. That's not a deadbeat dad. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a narcissist mom. But then, when then you have that happen, but you have this whole culture already accepting that and saying that over and over and seeing that in the policies, and they're blaming the kid's behavior because the kid comes from a single mom and it's a fault of the father, deadbeat dad, and that we have to stop.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about with the insurance when you said, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. It's you got to do it on a case by case, because sometimes, the father had the choice and he's not providing, and sometimes they can't provide. It's one of those where you got to figure out and take it case by case.
And sometimes they provide, and the custodial parent doesn't allow the non-custodial parent to see the kid, and that's like 90% of the case.
Oh yeah, and that they created safe haven. The sheriff's office had safe haven for that, to come to a mutual respect, and that way they don't have to fight and bicker in front of the child, and that way they can have their parent time with each other.
And there's a lot of changes to do in the community. There's something that and you talk to peace officers and stuff like that, and especially when that happens, when the non-custodial parent's not allowed to see. It's actually a state jail felony. It's part of the penal code. It's 2503, interference with child visitation. Nobody arrests the parent that's not allowing. Nobody does. But if a father shows up to pick her up and the mom says, "You're not going to see the kid," screw you. Police comes over. I guarantee you that they're going to give them a trespass warning, and if you come back here again, we're going to arrest you. And a lot of parents are being arrested.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the officer. The officer needs to follow through, needs to find out what's the court order. We did have a lot of those issues when I was a chief of police in the area that I was, and we'd always go with the court order. What did the court order? And if that's the case, we got to use verbal judo, calm the parents down, and we have to separate it from the child. We don't want the child to witness what's going on, and then the rights are the rights, and the father and the mother deserve their time with the child each.
And I think, and now here in Laredo, they just passed it because we worked on changing the bill a little bit, tweaking it, and it was give the person that's doing the infraction a ticket. The custodial parent doesn't want to allow him to go in there. Police show up, okay, here's a $500 ticket, go deal with it with the municipal court judge. Mm-hmm. And instead of taking him to jail. But it was done by municipality has to pass that as an ordinance. Laredo just passed it in September. They have problems and who's enforcing it? Nobody's doing it, and nobody's doing that. So, and when you talk to them, they come up with it's not a civil matter. It has to be done, and because that right there, if you start dealing with that, you start protecting the kid has issues. Yeah. And if he has issues and he's always been taught by the parent that keeping him from the other parent, that the other parent's worthless and so on and so forth, and hears this in school that's worthless, how do you make that kid feel? Pretty bad. So more likely he's going to start feeling that he's worthless, and you are what you think. And what happens is that kid's going to go the wrong side. He's going to go in a different road, and then you're going to start having problems with it. And they're going to blame, the father didn't come visit him.
He wasn't around.
And there's a father dying left and right trying to see him, and this is happening. Yeah. And I've seen that over and over. It's a never-ending cycle, but it's a cycle that we all have to, we're going to have to stop it one day.
And that we need to work with the courts, we need to work with the parents, and it becomes a thing with parent education. I mean, you don't have to do much. You just go pay a fee, and you can get married. There's no classes. There's no and then when you get divorced, you just sign a paper, you pay your attorneys, and you're divorced. There's no classes on what's going to happen post, so there's got to be some type of education of what they're getting into, and that way a child's life isn't affected.
I think that's a good idea, but I think the issues with the community being more involved with the peace officers that are there, they have to take that how can I say that they are our enemy out of the mind. And even though you have some knuckleheads, you have them in all departments, and the same police officers that are good, and they see one that's being astray, they have to tell them, you know what, get back online or get out of the force. And I think we have to protect the good guys that are there, the good peace officers there.
Everybody makes mistakes, even the good officers make mistakes, and that's what progressive disciplinary is for. That's why the county now has a civil service. You progressively discipline, you kind of put them back in check and give them the opportunity. And there's times where it warrants the extreme and termination. Let's get the bad officer out. But that's why that's why I'm running. Really, I am educated in that. I have worked with county civil service. I was with the sheriff's office, dealt a lot with the civil service program. I was a chief in precinct 1, and so I've learned the supervisory skills of the sheriff's office. Of the county, and what really did help me a lot was I got to see the aspect of the municipal part, because county and municipal are different, and it took me to become a chief of police to note that. And then I went to some training at Sam Houston, got some good training there that I bring to the table, and it all boils down to the supervisor. Going back to your point on the officers, a good supervisor needs to know when enough is enough. Who are the bad officers? Let's get them out. Let's bring in some good recruits that we can mold and put them out in the community to help the community.
Absolutely. And I like the thing that you said, that people, that maybe they have to start doing walking the beat a bit. I don't know if you remember, but I grew up in Louisville and I grew up in Baltimore. And both in Louisville and Baltimore, you had 2 guys walking the neighborhoods, man.
The beat, yeah.
They used to walk. They used to walk the neighborhood. And I remember in Baltimore they used to do that. And
that was the basic community policing. That was being interacting with them. You knew who the neighbors were. You knew who belonged there, who didn't belong there, and sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just go back in time, and they already had a solution.
They already had those are urban. How can I say? Walking the beat goes back to the Greeks and the Romans, and how old is Paris? How old is London? That's how old these guys have been walking the beat. Now about New York, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. Let's take a look at stuff like that those guys who are walking the beat. I know now that they're conditioned here in Laredo. It is hot. You're at 11 o'clock at night. It's 95 degrees. So there's a little, and they say I'm going to be in the car. But I think more presence on that.
Officer presence, yeah,
is needed. I'm walking down the street. Here's this.
And us as elected officials, like constables, sheriffs, chief of police, we need to be out there. And that's something I did when I was the chief of police over there in TAP. I would walk. I would go to the schools. I would show presence. We can't just be stuck in the office waiting. We have to go and show that we're part of the team, and we got to lead by example. We got to show up at the schools when there's just randomly and patrol it. We do got to go do our own traffic control and show the troops, hey, we're just like you. We're leading by example.
Absolutely. You see a lot of things with as time progresses, and you see a lot of trainings that go on and so on and so forth. And it seems to me that there's not enough of these trainings that go on, or not that many people go get them, as per se. Like hostage communications, negotiations, and stuff like that. I think we need everybody to go. You know what? Everybody, you all have to go to this, period, because you never know what you're going to be in at Stripes, getting your coffee, and then something happens.
Yeah. You don't want to have just one person at a hostage, because what happens when they're gone? What happens when they're on vacation? You want to have get people trained, and those people to train the officers. And I know it comes back down to funding, but there's a lot of grants out there and everything. And I was part of the sheriff's office when only certain people would go to train. I was part of a constable's office when only certain people went to train. And I think it's got to rotate. It's got to make sure, like you said, everybody gets the same training. 1 year we send this many groups, and then the next year we make sure it's a different group, so everybody gets the overall experience.
And I see them, and I see all kinds of stuff. It goes back to training. What's the first thing that they cut?
Budget.
No, the first training that they cut is for you to learn how to defend yourself. Or you get.
Oh, you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hand to hand defending. All of a sudden, at 8 hours. That's not going to help you you're a boxer. You know how long it takes.
That's constant training. That's
so
training.
you have, and then you don't
that
see
falls
that.
on the officer. I was sorry to interrupt, but that does fall on the officer as well. You can't wait for them to train you. You've gone to the training. You know what's expected. You gotta keep your skill. You gotta keep your skill going.
One of my professors, Patorel, he was commander of the anti-terrorist police in France. Okay, pictures up there, and it's called RAD, and they were always training, but they were the anti-terrorist police. Then in France, you had different levels. Then you had the Metro Police. They all did boxing. They all did boxe française, or now they do Thai boxing, but they all did boxe française. Every single one of them. You know, I have a friend of mine that was here, 2 years ago, and one last year, también, who's the one last year is actually the chief of the police in the metro in Paris. The rest of them work there, and they all train.
Yeah.
And guess what? You have to train, and you have to clock in that you've trained 1 hour, 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to go there, and at the end of the month they have the thing. And it's, I don't know if they get a discount because of that training. That's something that I've been trying to figure out. Or do they train them there? No, but they go train.
Well, I know some of the insurances now. I know the county had it the last time I was with the county, where the insurance would help or would pay your gym membership because they wanted the officers and they wanted people to be healthier. So the medical insurance would actually, supplement some of that money so they can go get in shape, and keep themselves active.
And learn what martial arts are actually better for you in the street.
Exactly.
Because you have to know how they're going to attack you for you to be able to understand what it is. And if you're being trained something else, and you go out there and meet this, you're going to actually be the one that's going under the table.
It goes back, and I know you're big on it. Before you can throw a punch, you need to know how to take a punch.
You have
and that's something that needs to be implemented to where, hey, how are you going to react once you got a bloody nose? How are you going to react once you're on the ground? How are you going to react when they got the upper hand? And that's where discipline and training comes to life.
I tell this to people. Alexander the Great was 21 years old when he had conquered the known world. So how old was he when he started fighting? 13?
Probably younger.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different, they talk about Achilles was 12 when he went into the Trojan War. 12 years old. This guy was the baddest warrior at 12, taking out men. What I'm getting to in the point is, right now, in the society that we live in, 90% of the men from 18 to 75 years old cannot handle an enraged teenager. 90%. There's going to be that 10% that can because they still train and they train and they just kept fit. They're just natural fighters, that 10%. But 90%, that's including peace officers and doctors and so on and so forth and blah, blah, blah. That you get an enraged teenager, they're going to go right through them like a hot knife through butter. Then that teenager might get hit, but they're going to be underneath. And you see that.
I think it also falls down to the laws that have gone in place. I've seen videos on TikTok and videos on YouTube where the enraged teenager, as you speak, is totally disrespecting the educator, the teacher. And they have so many limits on them that they sit there and take it, and they have one over on them. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And it goes back to respect, and it goes back to community policing and showing authority and showing, hey, we're here to help, and we're here to take care of business when it's time to take care of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And people might say, no, you're crazy. No, it's the truth. I don't care less what you guys are saying. You can do all the CrossFit you want. An enraged teenager is going to put you on the ground. It's going to bloody you up. And people say, no. I know a lot of teenagers that just turned men that are fighting our wars right now. That are 17, 18, 19 years old. They're not even 20 years old, and they've been.
I went to the military right
out of high school.
I was 18 years old in the military, and I guarantee after those the 3 months of boot camp and the 3 months in AIT, I was as fit as I ever was. I have never been that fit.
And so that's what we have to realize. It's not about putting negatives on something. It's something that realizing the problem and enhancing it for the betterment. Mm-hmm. And if one does it, gets 2-3 people to go do it, more and more do it, and start getting better.
Yeah, exactly. I agree on that one.
And that's all we need. We need a lot more not community involvement as per se. We need a lot more respect is number one. But
that's why I go back to the unity and community. Yeah. We need the unity back together in there, and we need to get back and as you say, go back to the beat. Go back to the beat. Go back to opening the book up again and showing that we're here. We're here. We're regular people. We're gonna be walking the beat at the schools. We're going to be walking the beat outside the schools. We're going to be protecting our children. But we want that respect from our children as well. We want to raise them that way to where you respect authority.
Yeah. A good friend of mine was he passed away. Tino Juarez, a former constable.
Yes.
And then
Good man.
he would always come here and he goes, Paul, how many good guys here? Which ones need to go to the police academy? You have to get them from here.
Oh, he was picking right from the litter.
You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of good guys are still there.
Good. That's good.
And we had some good guys they're still wearing badges that have come out from me. And that's what you need. You need people that have a self-discipline for entertaining the discipline part of it. Because we're gonna have bad apples anyway. That happens. That occurs. That's without no. It just happens. You get people that are just like that.
Yes.
But we want the majority of people. We live in a community that. We live in a respectful community, but there's something there, there's a glitch there we have to get it back in. And we have to start, I guess it's that entitlement part. Understand? Yeah. If you entitle somebody to have something without giving back to show for it, it's kind of hard.
And that's where a good supervisor comes into play, and that's why we got to get the right people, and that's why I'm running. You got to be able to recognize that bad apple before it spoils everything. So that's where the civil service comes in. That's where the progressive disciplinary comes in. That's where you recognize it before you bring them in. Maybe in the interview process, and you weed out the candidates. TCOL has gotten a lot more demanding on the hiring process. It's gotten now these officers that used to just go from agency to agency and they used to sneak in after they did something bad. They're trying to focus on eliminating that. Can they eliminate it totally? No. I mean, There's always going to be favors. There's always going to be some agencies that don't share too much, but at least they're making an effort in the right direction.
I think there should be I remember, especially some of the talks coming out of Uvalde, was that all the agencies have to be under one emergency channel. Everybody, the Border Patrol has this and that one had that, and you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think that's what needs to happen with the licenses. You have your license, and if you get a grievance and you work for I'm just going to throw out departments' names, okay? Folks, not picking on anybody. You work for the Laredo Police Department, for example. There's a grievance. That grievance goes on there, and TCOLs are already realized that. Then all of a sudden he gets like 4 or 5 grievances, and they're telling him, hey, you know what, you're getting too much. And he leaves, he resigns, and now he's working for the constable's office. And he does the same thing, 2, 3, 4 mess ups over there, gets something worse. Then now he's working for the college department. Now he's working and he's always getting grievances, but they're always he's always transferring over. That musical chair kind of thing has to stop. That's what you're talking about.
And that's what I'm talking about. And TCO is addressing that, and they've gotten, when you're going from agency to agency, it used to be real simple. I just recently transferred. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word. I transferred my license back from Corpus over here to Precinct 1, and it's a process. It takes over a month. A month, because they do have to go and talk to every agency you've been in, and they want to know the write-ups, and they will physically go look at your file to see the grievances and the write-ups and all that.
I think all the grievances and stuff should be placed in a state file under TCOS. You get a grievance here, it's filed, automatically filed, and it's sent off.
We do the share file through TCO. In other words, the agency has to share it through TCO. TCO's like the middleman, and maybe TCO will eventually start saying, "Hey, let's keep a file on these guys and have it under each PID number." And when it does happen, we can actually look into it.
Because you get a bigger. Excuse me for interrupting, but you get a bigger. Let's look at DFW Fort Worth. How many agencies, departments, and constables and sheriffs are? Yeah. I mean, you got 3 sheriffs easy. You got probably about 8 different constables from the 3 different, Denton, Tarrant, and Dallas counties. And how many chief of police do you have? So all of a sudden he does something in Dallas. Oh, you know what? Come over here and work for us at the sheriff's department. Denton does something in Denton. Now he's working in Fort Worth, and you can commute.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be stopped. And those loopholes need to be shut down for the good police officers to do a better job.
And then that helps with keeping the officers in the same agency for a longer period of time. You know, a lot of the officers, and this used to go on back in the day at the sheriff's office, we were just a stepping stone for them to get a bigger, higher paying federal job or a bigger, higher paying city job. So we were doing all that. But from what I've heard, because I was gone, Commissioner's Court, you know, gave a good increase to the sheriff's department. So their turnover rate's going to slow down. I want to bring that to the constable's office as well, because we don't want to have, we're part of the county as well. The constables have a big risk. They go knock on doors. Everybody says, oh, they're just serving papers. When you're knocking on that door, you don't know what door you're knocking at. And there's been a lot of fatalities with officers, and a lot of the more constables are knocking on the wrong door just to serve a simple child support, you know, and, you know, you don't know who you're going to encounter. So they take the same risk, and they've been taking the same risk, and I think they should be compensated the same.
I think, you know, they're just like teachers. We have to raise their job because they're doing raise their pay because they're doing a good job, and they'll do a better job. I'm always for that, if you're doing that.
And you stop the turnaround. You stop the turnaround. You save in the long run.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't pay them enough, they leave you. And then, guess what? You got to bring somebody else in. The hiring process is costly. The retraining is costly. And you just constantly investing on someone that's going to leave. I say we invest and we keep them and we stop the turnaround.
But maybe you have to do some, you know, I don't know. I don't know if they, at one time they were trying to do it with doctors that had gotten
Like a contract.
that had gotten federal grants and
there's
stuff to go
grants out there, and
no,
that's something
to
I'm
go to
looking
school
at too.
to go to school.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is, and they got their licenses, and all of a sudden, guess what? You're going to be stuck in somewhere in Alaska because you've got a federal grant for you to be there. So now you're there for 5 years and somewhere, and maybe that has to happen with some of these people that
Are signing up.
are signing up that have gotten, how can I say, federal, of course not send them to Alaska, I'm telling you, but you know what, you're going to sign up for, you're going to be a peace officer for the police.
Like we do with the military.
Yeah, now you're going to be there for 4 years. After your 4 years, and you can re-sign up your contract. I think we have to do that instead of just paying everybody straightforward. I think there has to be some way. I understand civil service. I understand all that, but I think there has to be some kind of
Guaranteed.
country,
Yeah.
on both parties, and that obligation makes things a lot better.
And that's good when you're getting a new officer and you don't, you know, and it was done before at one time. The sheriff's office and the constable's office would send you to training. They made that investment, so they would have some sort of contract saying that you're going to be with us a minimum of 3 years. And if for some reason you have to leave before those 3 years, you get another opportunity, then you pay us back what the taxpayers invested in your training. And, you know, those contracts were done back in the day. But
What took them off? What happened?
Change of administrations. You know, people, you know, a new sheriff would come in or a new constable would come in, and they would take it out the books. You know, and you know, but it can easily be re-implemented. You know, but you know, I'm here talking about everything that can do and everything I want to do and everything, but it can't do anything until loaded in. So yeah, that's why I'm hitting the beat, block walking, putting up my signs, and I'm trying to sell myself as a resume that, you know, I got a lot to offer in this area as a supervisor, and I just need the opportunity, and then I want to help the constable's office grow the way Laredo's growing.
Absolutely. Well, you know, folks, if you need to touch base, if they need to touch base with you, where can they find you?
I'm passing my card around. I mean, you can call me or you can email me. I have a card here. I'll give it to you so you can, you know, put it. I carry my cards everywhere. Hold on. I have my email here. It's Ponce for PCT4@yahoo.com. And if you want to, if they have any questions, if they have any input on what, you know, how we can better, it's more than welcome, you know.
And I'll put this information for you guys to
Yes,
get
and I
over.
have my personal number there. You can share it with everyone if they want to call me, if they want to ask some questions, if they want to have a little town meeting, you know. And I think that's what they need, a debate or a town meeting where they can see what, you know, the candidates bring to the table. I said it when I ran for sheriff, and I'm saying it now that I'm running for constable. People deserve a choice. That's why the veterans, you know, we serve so that when you go on fill out that ballot, you study the people that are on that ballot, you study them and you find out, okay, who best fits what I want in this area. And you get an educated choice.
And people need to research each and every candidate, talk to them, go face to face. I mean, I'll post the information, talk to them, send them a message and say, you know what, I'd like to meet you someplace. What ideas is there's a neighborhood that I live in. This is what's happening. This is my concerns. Voice it, because sometimes people get on social media and they blurt out something and they think, oh, they already read it. Nobody half the time. Some people are not reading. Probably you have like 5 friends that have 4,000, and that comment on your stuff. So you have to realize that a council, a public elected official, you have to go talk to them to find out what they're doing. Or if they pass by and they're in your neighborhood and they knock on your door, ask them the questions. You have them right there.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, but I'm also inviting not only the people from the area that I'm running, the people that are watching this that are from the south or from the east or the west, if they visited Precinct 4 and they saw something that could be improved on, I welcome their suggestions as well.
Absolutely. See, a lot of people, things occur, and sometimes there's issues that happen. There's something's going on wrong. Anything can be anything, and you talk to a department or you talk to them, and they get mad because they think they're being attacked. They're not being attacked. People just don't know how to say, you know what, I saw this that's wrong. How can we fix it? Or I got an idea. Listen to it. I'll listen to both sides of the spectrum, and you have to do that for you to be able to choose what needs to be properly made. And we don't have all the answers. Nobody does, and that's why you learn. There might be a bad policy that was used over here and it's still being used. And you know what? This happened over here. You know what? That you're right. Let's change it. That doesn't mean you're insulting anybody.
Yeah, you grow, and I used to say that, and I've talked about it before, that when I was at the jail and I was the commander there, when somebody new would start, we'd always take them on a little tour around the jail and kind of show them how things are done. And we'd tell them, this is how we do this is how we do that. And you'd be surprised how every once in a while we get that one person who says, like, why do y'all do it that way? Why don't y'all do it this way? And you get stuck in the mundane and that you never see it outside the box. And sometimes it takes the fresh set of eyes to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this would be easier. Maybe this would be smarter. And so you learn from the rookies sometimes. You
learn all the time. And people say, there's an old saying that goes, the day you die is the day you stop learning. That's when you start giving up. And you always have to continue learning. And you can learn from the worst to the good. And sometimes the worst attitudes, they did something there that might have been working, but they just had a bad attitude. Mm-hmm. So look for everything that's happening.
Exactly. Never give up. Never give up, and that's why I'm back in the race again. I ran for sheriff last time. I learned a lot from it. It was a hard campaign. It was a 6-week compact race, and I learned from it, and it made me grow, and it made me seek out more experience. It made me seek out more than what I already had, and that helped me grow. Now I come back with even more on my resume, and I want to offer it to the constituents of Precinct 4.
Absolutely. Folks, once more, I'll put this at the end.
Okay.
And we're running out of time, but I want to wish you all a good day. And like I always leave you guys, y'all be safe, stay safe, and God bless you all. Until next time, click and share if you live in Precinct 4, right?
In Precinct 4, yes, sir.
Till next time, much peace.
Hi, I'm Rosie Quinn, former judge and attorney from Laredo, and I'm running for State Rep District 80. I have the proven leadership, commitment, and results to be the strong and effective voice we need in Austin. I'm proud of my humble beginnings and very fortunate to have parents that taught us to work hard, get a good education, to treat everyone with respect, and to always help others. I have never forgotten where I come from, and I look to the future with resolve and determination to make the district a better place for our family. I humbly ask for your vote and support in March to become the first female representative from District 80.
I joined Putron Academy here and enrolled my son is the legitimacy of the school.
No tenemos palabras maravillosas, sinceramente no tenemos ninguna palabra negativa, estamos totalmente agradecidos. Lo único que yo podría decir como madre es que se animen completamente a venir a traer a sus hijos aquí a la academia. Totalmente es una experiencia muy bonita.
Overall, the academy is I've had a great experience with it, and I would encourage anyone who would want to become a better version of themselves to join.